Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boomer Bust channel, a Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host Terry, and today talking about our newly hired defensive coordinator, Chuck Pagano. Sorry about that. I'm gonna be honest with you real quick though. It's kind of tough to talk about the Bears right now. I think I'm getting there, but it hit me harder than I thought. And of course, nobody was happy that we lost, none of us fans. But when it happened, I was just kind of, laughing to keep myself from crying, kind of. It was just like, of course, yeah, Cody hits the upright. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's how our season ends. And even during the recap, I wasn't that, devastated. It was just like, well, yeah, okay. That sucks. But then the next day, it hit me. And it wasn't like my whole life shut down or ruined. It's just sports. And I mean sports. If I hear people talking about basketball or NBA, anything, draft, Alabama, Clemson, but especially the NFL playoffs, I just immediately tuned out. I could not care, or I could care less. Couldn't care less. There we go. I just was like, wow, whatever. The Bears aren't playing. I don't care. And you know what's funny? Because I remember the year after Lovey left and getting to that playoffs the next year, the NFL playoffs. I was just like, you know what? I wish the Bears were good, but this is different. I'm like, we aren't competing for something. I get to just sit back and enjoy football. Now that is cool. Definitely is. I can admit that it's not the same as, hoping your team gets to the Super Bowl and rooting them on. However, the downside is, it's crushing when they lose, especially in the first round. So anyway, it's kind of tough, but the show must go on. And I'm doing a little better now. It's still sore for me. So any of the Bears fans out there that's still reeling from that loss, you're not alone. So, defense coordinator Chuck Pagano. You know what? I didn't get a chance to talk about it a lot, with the Vic Fangio departure, but I will say this, and it's not digging a whole bunch into the X's and O's, but I will say that I felt that Vic Fangio could be replaced, fairly, decently. I didn't think it was like Vic Fangio's the only person in the world that can put together these players and make them play well. Definitely not. We got talent. And I didn't feel like our, success was only because of Vic Fangio. So it wasn't to me, oh my God, how are we going to replace this guy? I didn't feel like that. I did feel like that they needed to get a veteran. And so before I could even do episode or talk about that, they already kind of talked about the candidates they were looking at. And then now we got Pagano hired. So before I could even say it, they did what I was going to say, which is you got to get a veteran coordinator. This isn't a situation where you promote someone that's a first time coordinator. This isn't a situation where you get this hot promising candidate. This is a situation where you get a person that has done this for a very long time and has the respect in the league and can command a huddle of grown men. Because the way we're set up, Matt Nagy is, kind of a one-sided coach. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't deal with everything, but the dynamics is different. And every team's dynamic is different, but this dynamic that we're seeing now in the league, of course, because everybody's copying what the Rams did, which I'm gonna make a separate video. I'm getting ready to rant about that. But everybody's trying to copy what the Rams did. And so this idea that the head coach focuses on one side and lets the opposite coordinator take care of everything else on that side. Not a new thing, but it wasn't super common, at least not to the public eye. And so with Sean McVay and them doing that, of course the Bears follow suit, and there's a couple teams doing that now. I fully expect the Cardinals to do that. hiring Vance Joseph from the former Broncos head coach to go with the college coach Kingsbury. So that's kind of the thing now. The thing is hot, young, athletic looking, slick hair offensive coordinators. And so the other part to that is going out and getting you somebody that can run the defense all on their own. So to me, the way we were set up as the Bears, I felt like we needed to continue that trend. Not to say that Nagy couldn't do it. He hasn't done it, but not to say that he couldn't do it. It's just that the way the formula is set up for us, they like it that way. And it makes sense. It frees up Nagy to have more time and energy focus on not just offense, but situational things, a lot of things. There's head coaches that want their hand in every single thing, and it can work if you're that good, but it is very, risky to, do you put the quality in a few things or do you put the quantity in a bunch of things? That's the question you always got to ask. So you're talking about whether it's watching the special teams or setting up the situations that you want to go over with the team, or whether it's focusing more on personnel matchups. It gives you more time to be specific when you have somebody handling that. Now, you always got coordinators most of the time, but their level of responsibility is always different. And for us, we need one with a high level of responsibility. So in comes Pagano. Again, not heavy into the X and O's. He ran the I front with Baltimore, or he was a part of an I front with Baltimore and with Indianapolis. So I would have personally liked to see us go to an even front. That's just me. So it seems we most likely will stay in the I front type look. Again, I can't really dive into the X's and O's too much, but what I will say is on the surface is you got a guy who's been a head coach, and I think that's a huge thing. If you look at most of these failed attempts at head coaches, they usually get jobs because, as I said before, it's the same circle and pool, but also because once they go back to being a coordinator, you see them improve or feel a lot more at home. Some people think that it goes position coach, I run my position. Coordinator, I run my side of the ball. Head coach, I run everything. That's not exactly what head coaching is for most people. Most of the time is managing the team, but it's not running the X and O's of everything. And so you see these guys step back and become coordinators and are a lot more comfortable. So I think Pagano not only being a head coach, but being a guy who's, I would say publicly really attached to his, locker room, and they had some real good times and they were successful. And again, that goes to a bunch of other people besides Pagano, but they were successful. So to understand what Nagy is doing, that's part of the reason a lot of people talk about Wade Phillips kind of being the defensive guy for the Rams. The biggest reason that they said at the time, McVay said it, everybody said it, is that Wade Phillips was a head coach before. And so all these questions that Sean McVay might have, all these different things he's going to run into, that was one of the reasons they wanted Wade Phillips. And I think that's not so much that Nagy needs the help, but he, at least Pagano understands what Nagy's going to need from his coordinators. He's going to understand what support he will need as a head coach, and he will understand what it means to win and how to conduct himself accordingly. But he's one of those coordinators with a fire under him. I mean, Fangio isn't a fiery guy. Like everybody, again, after John Fox, everybody's like, man, we want a guy with energy and blah, blah, blah. Nagy's got all this energy. And I continue to say, love Nagy and all that, but I'll continue to say that crap does not matter. If you win, whatever style you got is the one that people want. So it doesn't matter that you're loud and boisterous. Vic Fangio wasn't that. And so we got our team, on the right track defensively. He's got a head coach position now, and he's successful. Now Pagano's not exactly that way. He's a lot more fired up. And I think that's okay too. I mean, that's not really the big issue, but it will be the issue is how quickly he can galvanize the guys to him, because not only are you taking over a talented team that knows they're good, but a team that grew up through the energy of one coach, and quickly as they got success, he left. So you're going to have a time trying to buy them over, because it's not like, Fangio sucked and got fired, or, the whole coaching staff got fired and half the players got replaced. No, it's a good unit coming back off of success. So that's going to be the toughest part, is to get his personality into these, defensive players and, gain their trust. But I think, again, having somebody that's been a head coach, that's been successful, that, knows, solid football, whether you talking about schemes or, coverages or fronts, he's going to have his team performing in a professional manner, not like Mel Tucker. So I think Pagano is a good hire. I think he's very similar to Fangio, in a lot of ways. Personality wise, maybe not so much, but I think we'll be perfectly fine. Again, I think this was more about the dynamic of our coaching staff, more so than X's and O's. So I'm happy with the hire. But it would have been fine if they said, hey, we got Vance Joseph. Some people were saying Greg Williams, if we would have got Steve Wilkes, if we would have got Todd Bowles. I don't know about Rex Ryan. Not even because of X. Again, when it comes down to it, and I'm a coach, I back the coaches, I love the X's and O's, and they do matter a whole bunch. But when it comes down to it, most coaches are on the same level with X's and O's. And so the play stuff is not always that big. Now, play calling situationally can be different. Game planning can definitely be different. Evaluating talent, teaching people, those are all different. But when you talk about knowledge, because some people are like, oh, well, he knows this, and he, that stuff kind of washes, to be honest. If you're in the NFL, especially for this long, and you don't have a X and O on the caliber of your peers, then you doing something horribly wrong. So I don't know about Rex Ryan, but most of these people, I would have been like, yeah, okay, cool, let's go. But I think this fits the dynamic, which is, I think, the more important thing. So anyway, go to the comment section. Let me know how you feel about Chuck Pagano. Please, no Vic Fangio hate, man. I wish him the best. Come on. I know we're going to play him this year and I want us to win, but man, wish him the best. He's not a traitor. Yeah. And then, if you want to cry about the season, you go ahead in the comments and do that too. So share it around, get the convo started, thumbs up, subscribe. Remember, stay up and bear down.